Welcome everyone to the Executive Compass. This is where we get insights from executive firm founders. We'll dive into their story, how they got started, their challenges and opportunities, and how they're shaping their business for the future. For those of you watching this podcast, I'm Amisha Sriwankar, founder of Vectra Growth Partners, and we specialize in helping executive firms scale their revenue. Today's guest is Nate Olstad, founder of Talent Team. Hey, Nate, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, Misha, how are you?
I am doing fantastic. Where are you dialing in from today?
The greater Austin, Texas area.
Awesome. Sunny in Austin?
It's getting there. We just had that cold that came through, but it's good. Yeah, it's warming up.
Yeah, great. Well, I'm so excited to have you here and to kind of unpack your story. So I'd like to start with you've built Talent Team around the idea of helping companies scale confidently with the right talent infrastructure. What made you decide to start your own company? What was the market gap that you were filling in the recruitment space?
Here's the thing. I think at the time it was less about market gap and it was more around just like this burning desire to want to do my own thing. I'm a builder at heart. And so like I did a lot of work with early stage startups as global head of talent acquisition for them, learned the ins and outs of that. Then I would always get to the point where I was just managing, right? I'd built the talent function. I'd scaled the organization. Companies were in a good spot. The people, tools, and the processes were all humming along. And I just got bored, right? And I was like, all right, what's next? Like, what can I go build next? And so for me, I was a practitioner that had seen success. I had seen failure. I'd been with big Fortune 50 companies. I had been with pre-seed startups. Like I've seen every phase of like the growth of companies, and I felt like I had a lot of value to bring to the market. There's a lot of talent leaders out there that haven't seen that. There's a lot of recruiting agencies that haven't been on that side of the fence and could actually speak from experience being in the trenches with leaders. And so I had a lot of value there. And so for me, I wanted to go out and provide a consultancy where I could help startups think about scale the right way, where I could bring in my expertise, where I could bring in my network of consultants that were at my same level, that had seen the same experiences, bring that to the table and help companies succeed, right? Because my belief is talent is the number one driver of success for any companies. Yeah, so that was kind of I don't know if I would consider that a huge gap in the market, but that was just kind of where my passion was, right? And that was 2020. We had just gone through the pandemic. Things were starting to pick up again and they were booming, right? And so, yeah, that's kind of the timing of it all. This is actually my second company. I started a first company with a friend of mine. We scaled the company pretty quick. From an operational standpoint, we just didn't see eye to eye on things. And so I decided to separate, and that's when I launched Talent Team. So I kind of had like my first taste of it, of success, did some market testing of what worked, what didn't, different pricing models, right? Because that's the biggest thing is when you start a company is how do you price yourself, right? And how do you what resonates with the market and how can you scale? So I kind of got some of that before launching Talent Team.
Yeah, no, that's fascinating. So do you navigate more towards startups and helping startup founders find their talent, or is it startups, mid-size? I'm trying to understand what is your niche and what
Yeah.
is the industry that you go for and the size of the company.
That's a great question and something that took me a little while to find. I was in kind of scramble mode, right? Because things were booming when I started, but then we hit the 2022 recession. We had the SVB banking fiasco that happened. Most all of my clients were early stage startups. I had partnerships with big venture capital firms that would introduce me straight to the founders of like seed to B, really, right? Before you have like a talent function. So I had a lot of business that way. Actually, I was turning down business all the time because there's only so much that I could do. And then I had to find the right consultants that had the right experience that could go in and deliver at the levels that, I wanted them to deliver at. So that market crashed, right? Companies like early stage startups were getting a lot of pressure to reduce their cash burn, to increase their runway. And, they were like, oh, we'll just do it ourselves, right? We'll find talent ourselves. So a lot of the money spent towards like external partners really kind of went away. And a lot of companies folded, as we know, during that time. And so I had to pivot, and I had to pivot quick. And so what I started realizing was as all these full-time recruiters were getting fired from companies, things and hires still needed to happen, and companies didn't want to spend large fees. I kind of pivoted into providing contract recruiters. I've been hiring and building high functioning recruiting organizations for 15 plus years now. And so I had a lot of friends, and I've done a lot of like talent leader, executive search, and people leader, like chief people officers, chief HR officers, executives. So I had a big network there, and they all knew my ability to deliver. So I pivoted into that market, and that's still one of my niches is recruiting consultants. We work with some of the biggest names. I just signed with OpenAI as their sole recruiting vendor. I work with Bumble. I work with some of the, like really big Cedar, which is a big Andreessen Horowitz backed health tech company. I've worked with them for 4 years, and just their go-to for contract sourcers, recruiters, like all across the board. So that was one area. Seeing the volatility in that market, I really I didn't want my wagon to be hitched to just that one niche, right? And just by way of, dabbling in different areas, meeting new people, conversations, market trends, macroeconomic, like reviews, like just where the market was going. AI was booming. I got introduced to somebody who was in the data center construction space. And he's like, man, this is a really big area. I work for Amazon. Could you help me find some like construction managers for some data center builds? And I'm like, let's explore that. That was the beginning of my second big niche, right? And so we do a lot of work with Amazon, with Oracle, with general contracting firms that are building data centers. And so like anywhere from executive down to like frontline consultants that are actually out there on 1 year, 2 year engagements, building out data centers, which if we're looking at it, like it's not going to slow down anytime soon. The amount of investment is in the hundreds of billions each year, and it's only growing, right? So that's my second niche. Third niche is the energy sector. So hand in hand with data centers is energy. You have to have energy to be able to build data centers. And I have a close partner named Jeremy who's been in the energy sector for years. He's been in sales for years, and we partner together on oil and gas companies, right? Energy, mostly oil and gas, some renewables here and there. Again, I think the renewables market, while I fully believe in it, I think it's also volatile. It's a very much of a political thing as administrations change, right? Wind was huge under Biden and previous administrations, and now wind has been crippled. My brother-in-law runs a wind development farm, like wind development business. Business is booming, and it's all these new regulations against it. Like, so oil and gas is a very much of a steady eddy, right? As long as the price per barrel is at a certain place, companies are spending and they're investing. Now, we mostly focus on the tech side, where tech people that are selling products into big oil and gas upstream companies. So do a lot of executive search there down the front line. We're not solely an executive search firm, right? Like it's something that we've always done, but again, that be my sole model is not something that I was ever really fully interested in. But those are our three like core niches.
Amazing. So if I may ask, where does most of your resources go? Is it like evenly divided between the three niches? Is it one takes up more of your time than the other two? Just curious what that looks like.
Well, I'm 4 years in almost to running talent team, and I'm at that like inflection point of like the owner operator dilemma of having to scale, but wanting to have other people do it with you and for you rather than you being solely responsible for doing it all on your own. So I'd say the last year has been a point where I have focused more time and energy on building my team around me of highly competent operators that can come in and kind of manage each one of these verticals. Right. So I'm very involved in all three of them because they're my passion and they're my babies. And like my network and my reputation is what kind of got us there. But, I've been slowly bringing in new folks that can help operate each one of those. So I would say they're pretty evenly divided from a revenue perspective, 40-40-20, recruiters, oil and gas, data centers. Coming into 2026, just where we're at with new clients, just the market that I'm seeing, the momentum and just kind of forecasting with my CFO, it's probably going to be it's more going to be aligned 30-30-30, which is really what you want, right? You want an even distribution of your different verticals. Therefore, like one drops, then you can, you have the other that carries you from like a cash flow perspective. And so, yeah, I'm looking into 26 in a pretty fortunate situation where I think that with the investment in people, the investment in time, the investment in the execution of our projects that we've been working on the last couple of years, that we're going to have a pretty even split.
Amazing. What are the let me rephrase that. What are the candidate profiles for each of these? It makes sense to me that you're looking for contract staffers in the tech startup space. When you say contract staffers, I mean, candidates, recruiters, immediately what comes to mind are fractional execs who can take on those roles. Is it the same recruiting profile that you look for in your database niche and your oil and gas? Talk to me about the different roles.
Well, I mean, it really depends because from the contract recruiter space, I mean, there's four main profiles that we focus on. Contract recruiters, and that's mostly either go to market, so sales marketing, or it's the tech and product, right? Then we have sourcers, and still the same kind of mix, right? Either go to market or tech product. Then we focus in like the recruiting operations side, where it's the enablement function for recruiting, kind of like sales ops, right? Like you have your deal desk, you have your sales operations that help enable those functions to operate. So those are like the three core in those areas. But then I do a decent amount of exec leadership search. I've been a talent leader myself at tech companies, and like I know what the role is, and so I have a lot of it's a pretty relatively easier search for me than, let's say, a CTO, right? Or like a principal software engineer. Whereas I've been recruiting engineers my whole life, like I haven't been an engineer, so there's still a little bit of that delta there. The data center side is mostly, again, on the construction. We're looking at project executives, people that are running multi-billion dollar or hundreds of million dollar projects. We're looking at the construction managers that are owning these projects and delivering them, the schedulers that are making sure these projects are being delivered on time. We're looking at QA, QC, and commissioning. So like the whole life cycle of like from slab to like operations of a data center. Oil and gas, we do a lot. We've traditionally done a lot of go-to-market like sales leaders, CROs, VPs of sales, all the way down to frontline sellers. But then once we get in and work with a company, like we find that there's a lot more need on the engineering and tech side. And the accounting and finance side, right? There's a lot of money flown within oil and gas companies. And so there's usually their accounting, their production accounting, their revenue accounting, like those departments are usually a lot larger than traditional tech companies. And so we find ourselves doing a lot of like finance and accounting in those areas, along with go-to-market and tech. So that, I would say oil and gas is a little bit more evenly spread. Across like traditional kind of like staff augmentation, if you will. But yeah, I mean, those are the profiles that we typically recruit for.
Got it. And I know it's hard to pick favorites, but which one's your favorite niche out of the three?
Oh, man, you get me in trouble on this one. Because my people are recruiters. That's who I am. Like my passion, like what I've set out to do and why I recruit is for the right reasons, right? I recruit because I know that we are able to make a massive impact on companies and in the world. We're connectors. We're artists. We're scientists. Like there's like different ways to craft your art and recruiting, and I love it. And I know the value that we're able to add. I've been recruiting recruiters for a long time. And, again, they're my people. It's probably the easiest type of recruit for me because I very quickly can hone in on good recruiters. Right? But from a recency perspective and an excitement and an upside, I mean, recruiting has had massive volatility over the last couple of years, right? We've hired big in like 2020. We let everyone go in 2022. We're slowly picking back up and starting in late 23, mid 24, mostly contract though, because companies are afraid to hire full time. So there's that going on, but I've been like, it's been more kind of like your steady Eddie, right? With data centers, it's like the next industrial revolution. that we're facing right now. We're seeing unprecedented growth within AI. And in
Yes.
order to keep up with AI, you need the infrastructure to be able to support that, right? Like we have everything that we use is powered by the cloud. And the more data that we put up into the cloud, the more usage, the more devices, the more chat GPTs and Claudes and that we're using. Like I don't know the exact stat, but they said something like saying thank you to chat GPT for them giving you results, like uses more compute power than like 1,000 Google searches or something like that, right? Like
Oh,
just the pure magnitude of that, right? Then like the power that enables all that, like there's something that really, really excites me about the data center space, right? It's
yeah.
the wild, wild west. There's a shortage in talent. And anytime there's a shortage in talent is when that drives value for companies like myself, right? Like every data center conference that you go to, starting 2 or 3 years ago, there's a big one in Austin that was great. I mean, half the speaking panels were about a shortage in talent. I just sent one of my senior guys down to Honolulu last week for a data center conference. Again, a theme is a shortage in talent. So it's like, how do we bridge that gap? It makes me feel like the 2010 to 2015 era where it's like we had a shortage in software engineers. How are we filling the gap with software engineers? Well, boot camps came around, they blew up everywhere, right? Like our visa and immigration policies increased, which was a great thing. Like we found ways to drive more. We invested more in early stage STEM in elementary and middle school and junior high and high schools. We're in that same kind of like wild, wild west right now in the data
Yes.
center space. It's like we have all this demand, but the limiting factors are land, energy, and people. And the people part is what fascinates me, right? And then just what it's able to do, like the quality of life that we live and what's life going to be like in 10 years if we continue to grow at the rate that we grow at. So like I have equal amount of passion in the data center side, right? Where are we going and like how can I play a part in this? Because if you don't, like it's just going to pass you by.
No,
And
totally.
that's like
Every day.
I didn't run a business to be passed by, right?
Exactly. Exactly. I love it. It seems like you recruit all over the nation. Do you do any international recruiting as well?
We don't yet. That is an interest of mine. You know, with certain technologies, it makes it a little easier. There hasn't been enough of a demand for it yet for me to really like build the backbone of doing international hiring just yet. You know, obviously like offshore and nearshore hiring has been something big. I've seen that. I feel like I've seen that spike and it's on its way down from a demand perspective. Whether that parallels with this whole return to office mentality that companies are having, like it may have something to do with that. My executive assistant's in Argentina. And so like I fully endorse like out of country hiring, right? But have I focused on it yet? No. I'm trying, like we're small and scrappy and we kind of want to stay that way. I am hiring a couple extra leaders onto my team here soon. They're going to help me operationalize and think about scaling out faster. And like maybe that's one of the options that we do. But from like a pure focus area, like I've spent the last 3.5 years, or I'll say 2.5 years, figuring out where our focus areas were. There was a lot of failure, a lot of dead ends, fail fast and pivot.
Yes.
I've done that, and I've kind of honed in on the areas that I'm seeing repeatable business and demand in the
Yeah.
market.
Fantastic. And what I'd love to know is how are you finding your candidates for the jobs to fill and how are you getting in? Well, one of the ways that you told me is that you send your folks down to attend conferences and trade events like the one in
hmm
Honolulu. What are the other ways you get in front of employers who are in these niches?
Employers or candidates?
The companies that, who want to hire.
I mean, honestly, 95% of my business is all referral based. It's all word of mouth. Well, I think that's a fantastic thing to be able to say. It's also limiting from a scalability perspective, right? So, one of the things that I've struggled with as a company is our go-to-market motion, right? It's figuring out how to build a repeatable top of funnel lead generation process that continues to get us out there, right? And I've struggled with that. It's like, do I want to like dilute my brand by doing that? Because you do, right? There's an element of diluting your brand. And, so I'm like very cognizant of that. I think a lot of the times, like some of your best sales comes from your recruiting, right? Like building very strong relationships. One of my core values is reputation over revenue. And I want every interaction that we have, and we drop the ball sometimes, right? Like we do, because there's so many interactions that we do have, but like I want every interaction that we have to be the foundation of building a great relationship with whomever we're talking with. I want to be built off of trust, authenticity, because I'm a very authentic person. I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I want everybody who works for me to like emulate that, because that is truly how we're going to build a sustainable business, is off the backbone of trust and authenticity, right? And so with that, I struggle with like, how do we like ramp up our business development and sales in a trusting, authentic way? And like I've tried email marketing, I've hired an email marketing company to do that. And was like, our conversion rates were so low, and like, I don't know, I just didn't like it. I've tried cold calling and business development stuff. Like, again, like I know that's part of it, and there's not like a single answer to it, right? And so like I want to start from like, ours has really kind of been a push lately, starting from content, right? Like creating like authentic content, right? That ties into our verticals. And so we've started working with a really good marketing firm that's helped us kind of take some of that off my plate, because I'm not a marketer. I was a marketing major in college. That was a long time ago, and I did it so I could get a degree and figured I was going to be in sales of some sort, right? And so, yeah, marketing's not my specialty. I know it's about consistency and good content that's authentic, and so we're really starting to push on that. And the more recruiting that you do, and the more authentic conversations that you have with people, that's where a lot of our leads come from. People turn into hiring managers, and that is an upside of the executive recruiting that we do for the company, is that most executives that you talk to, you're not placing. You're talking to them for roles. Some of them are a fit, some of them aren't. But if you can lead that conversation and have them leave that with, that was a fantastic person I spoke with. They have deep business understanding of the environment and the economy. They understand how business operates. They know how an executive operates. Like they know how to build and scale, and they think big picture. Like those are the things that I want people walking away from with our interactions. Not, hey, do you have business for me? Or how can I help you recruit? Or like that's exactly. For me, like being a head of talent for many, many years, like I just got inundated with third-party search firms that had no creativity and no authenticity. And it really turned me off, and actually that was one of the reasons why I started a consulting firm and not a recruiting company. I didn't want to be a staff agency, but through the recession and all that, you realize that those are the things that really stick. And I'm like, all right, how do I run the very best recruiting firm to where I don't feel ashamed to say that I run a recruiting firm, or I'm not ashamed to say it at a networking event, because most times you say that, people are like, oh, recruiting agency, oh yeah, we're not hiring. And they turn around and I'm like, great. I don't give a shit if you're hiring or not. Like, let's talk. Let's be friends. Let's go grab a beer. Like what can I do to help you? And like, I always take like an advisory mentality too, and say like, how can I help you? Who can I introduce you with that may help you or solve a problem? What problems are you going through? Like maybe I've experienced it and I've seen it. And so when you lead from that place of like, how can I help first before what can you give me? Like that's a very good like foundation for your sales strategy, right? And so that's long answer to your question. We're still honing it in, but we're honing it in a different way that's not high volume. We don't need 20 new clients a month. I don't. Like, would it be great? Yeah, because then those are scale problems that I like to solve for. But do we need it? No, we need partners. And like, we're very, very focused on finding partners to work with, not companies that look at us as just a number, right? And so I would rather slowly grow with finding new partners than to add 10 new clients a month that I don't have a good relationship with. I'm not working exclusively on their stuff. They beat me down on rates. They don't give me access to the people who are decision makers. Like they don't ask me for advice. They just want me to send and flop resumes over. Like
Yeah.
that's
That's
not the
another.
type. No, that's not the business that I want. And I'll like, we actually just, we met a client at this conference that kind of has that way of like commoditize, put us into like the commodity bucket. And I'm talking to my guy who built that relationship with the client. And I was like, listen, like maybe this just isn't the client that we want to work with. Like if they don't, if they're not assuming any risk in the process and it's only on us, like there's only so much that we can do once we made a placement, and a company that understands that like there's two parties in this, right? Well, there's three really with the candidate, but it's like once we place somebody, we're not there to do the one-on-ones with them. We're not there
Mhm.
performance managing them. We're not there making sure that their manager's like not a total jerk, right? Or is not giving them what they need to be successful. Those are the like companies that understand that and are partners with you. Like those are the ones that like we really try to seek. And so business development is a little slower because we're not just a high volume chop shop looking
Exactly.
for companies that want that. There's plenty of staffing agencies out there, I promise you, that would welcome that sort of business because that's what their model's built on.
Yeah.
That's just not us.
Good to know. So that's on the partnering with the company side. Tell
Yes.
me about how you source talent. What does
I
that
mean,
look like?
yeah, I mean, we're constantly A/B testing new tools. Like I'm a tool guru, like not guru, but I'm just like a tool nerd. I go to recruiting conferences just to see like what's new and who's out there and who's doing what. You know, unfortunately, like LinkedIn still does kind of carry the market for just a database of talent. I think that they've significantly fallen behind on their technology, and I've told them that many times. Like even my reps, like I'm here because of your in-mails and your access to talent. Like that's basically what it is. But in job posting and your reach, but like when it comes to like innovative solutions, right? Like there's companies like pin.com and Juicebox and Gem and like all these companies that are like adding these like very seamless workflows into the recruitment experience and life cycle that makes recruiting really easy. Now, they're seeing their value in the market as well, and prices are increasing, right? So it's about like we find through a lot. So to answer your question, like our tools, right? So we use tools a lot to find candidates, previous candidates and referrals. Everyone on my team has been recruiting for 10 to 20 years. We have network of people. We can easily post, we can easily ping people and ask for referrals. We're very like sniper like when it comes to who we're going after. And so there's that. We go to conferences, but conferences are hit or miss. Really, like I don't know, depending on the type of conference it is. Like yeah, I mean it just really depends. But I mean I think giving back to people, helping people resume write, helping people think about their job search and their strategy and how they approach their job search and the market and all that. Like those are ways that really get us a lot of good candidates and referrals because they tell their friends. They
Yeah.
know that like not just like recruiting shop that's looking for resumes and we're, like that's all we care about. We care about them as a human first. We care about how they match up and finding them the right clients and not just slamming them in jobs because that does no good for anybody, right? So it's just our approach of
Yeah.
how we think about recruiting and how we've been doing it for many years. So we get a lot of referrals that way. But honestly, like recruiting is not rocket science. It's an activity game, right? I've always called it a contact sport. Right, like you have to be in contact with people to be successful, and so there's an activity. It's sales. You have to have activity. You have to have your outreaches. You got to have your touch points, multiple touch points, right? You got to try different tools. With ChatGPT, you can create all these agents to automate a lot of your sourcing and top of funnel for candidates as well. So it's constantly just trying new things, right? It's not just being stagnant. And then it's like building your database, and that's cool and all. I think back in like 2005, to say that you had 50,000 people in your database carried far more weight than 2026 saying you have 50,000 people in your database. It's like, so what? We all have access to LinkedIn. That's everyone's database.
That's
Right.
true.
And to scrape people into your database, cool. Right. And we all have access to their contact information because there's 20,000 tools out there that finds contact information. It's how do you separate yourself from engaging candidates, right? Like engaging candidates and building and closing candidates starts on your first outreach. Like how is your message? How does it separate you from other people? Like that's the more important part is it's not like where we find them, it's how we find them.
Interesting. Can you expand a little bit more about that? What happens when a candidate comes to you, they find you? What does that first touch point look like? Can they upload their resume? Do they call you directly? Is there an email? Do they look at job openings? Like, how do they get into your world?
Multiple. We have job postings on LinkedIn. We have job postings on our websites. We have in-mails, messages in like our inbox and our LinkedIn, or we have our emails everywhere. I mean, there's not one answer to it. I think it's more just around getting in contact as opposed to sending resumes. Right? Because most people have their LinkedIn profile updated. Most people do. And so that gives us a good snapshot. That gives me enough of a snapshot to know, yes, this is somebody that I want to spend some time and dig deep into, right? And like really like dig into the background. Because having recruited long enough, you know the types of companies where people come from. Like you have a general idea of like what they've done, what they've accomplished, at the quality and at the level that they've accomplished things at, depending on the company they're at. So I think there's not one way for people to get a hold of us.
Yeah, no, true. And since you talked a little bit upon AI, I'd love to know, how are you using AI in the company?
Just our tools, right? I mean, our ATS and CRM combo, we're using AI, I mean, constantly with, ChatGPT or Gemini. Like, I mean, makes our consistency, like formatting resumes and write-ups and things like it makes it a very streamlined approach. And like it saves us so much time to be able to do the things that we do good. And that's have good, engaging conversations with quality candidates. So I think that there's a lot of opportunity for us to improve our AI strategy internally. And that's some of the hires that I'm making right now is people to help enable us from an AI perspective and get us to be more of an efficient company, improve our workflows internally, improve our strategy and how we execute on our strategy, our marketing materials, our content, right? Like all of the things that go into our day-to-day operations and the nuances that pull us away from what I call big rocks, right? Generating revenue, talking to candidates, doing the things that matter, moving the needle, right? Those are the things that we are starting to use AI a lot more on to be able to allow us to do the things that humans should be doing more of, right?
That's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd love to know, we're almost at the end of the interview. What are the next major bets you're making for talent? Whether it's technology, you've kind of answered some of this,
Yeah.
but where would your focus be for this year?
Operational talent for me internally. It's building an operational backbone, getting more of financial rigor in place, operationalizing how we go to market, how we recruit, how we deliver, right? Making sure that everybody delivers on the same motion and they have the same philosophies and ethos, and expanding and building our team out. Because we're already at the limit right now. And so it's finding the right people. It's like building our team, growing our team with people who can deliver, people who can sell, and people who can operationalize the organization.
Amazing. Nate, this has been a fantastic conversation. Where can people connect with you online?
Clearly, I'm all over LinkedIn. Right? It's Nate Olstad. My company's Talent Team, TALNT team, or Data Center Talent, TALNT. And those are the two companies that we operate. You can find me there. My email is nate@talent.team. And yeah, that's the best way. And then if you're really curious and inquisitive, you can find my other contact information if you want by Googling it.
All right. Thank you so much. Yes, Google and ChatGPT are answers to all our problems.
That's right.
Thank you. Great conversation. Thanks so much.
You bet.